Okay, so I wanted to make this little presentation to kind of like help explain all my ideas and kind of brief the project down a little bit. So this is my self-portrait surrealism project 2. Um, Basically, the concept brief for this assignment was just to create a digital animated image, surrealism, and just to make it a self-portrait, something that represents yourself. And I'm also going to explain one of my skills that I learned in Photoshop through this project. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from it was just to kind of make it a metaphor and kind of see like what you are going to see it as and what your audience is going to see it as. And a lot of mine was I used a mind map and like a bunch of concepty resources to figure out mine, and kind of the biggest like outcomes I came out with that like represented me, I guess, was fall, astrology, adventure, and soccer. And the one thing that stood out to me the most was soccer, and it wasn't like a good thing. It kind of represented like emptiness, like kind of like I don't know what I'm doing with soccer. Just kind of like it's just kind of there as like a space filler. I also knew that I wanted to like use a color as like a big representation of my project because I think that that's like a really good way to like catch someone's eye and grab attention really quickly. And with the color red, I know represents anger, and I knew that with soccer, I definitely the only way I know how to express the way I'm feeling is through anger. And so in no way is that supposed to like make me seem like a bad person, I guess, but that's just kind of how I feel. Um, Basically, what I knew I needed in my concept, in my like design, was a way to tie anger with like adventure and the feeling of being empty, because I go out on adventures and I can still like go out and do stuff and try new things, but still feel empty and angry with a lot of things. So I kind of thought about like astronauts equaling adventure, and I knew that like I was thinking about astrology and like mind map concepting, and so I knew that stars was also another way of showing like possibility, and like there's like a whole big world out there, and so I think space and the astronaut kind of shows my adventure really well. And I know that the feeling of emptiness I wanted to show like really well, and so I think that having or creating like a hole where my heart is meant to be kind of shows like that emptiness. And so like on the outside I'm looking for adventure, and the inside I am feeling really empty. And you see that in my concept. But I also knew that, like I said before, that red spoke, it's like an expression of anger. And I think that smoke also represents like cleansing. So like I think me expressing my feelings is kind of what the smoke is meant to represent. And so basically what I kind of narrowed it down to for my overall concept was like an outside versus inside view, and like how that's affecting me. And so on the outside of my concept, I'm looking for adventure and like with the space and like endless possibilities. But on the inside, where my heart's supposed to be, it's empty. And the only way I know how to express that is through anger and through like just getting it all out. And that's kind of what everything tied together means. And so that's just kind of a general concept, I guess, of my presentation. And my final looks like this. Okay, so you can see with my final concept that the most important aspects that I wanted to be represented were the things moving, obviously, because I just think it grabs people's attention super quickly, and kind of shows like a calmness about like the whole concept and all together. But you can see like on the outside, like what people see is like adventure and like this feeling of like being able to go out and do things and like have fun and do all these concepts and make new adventures and things. But on the inside, where my heart's supposed to be, it's empty. And I think that making that movement with where my heart is supposed to be kind of shows like there's space to be filled. And I think that that's a really important aspect. It's not just going to be empty forever. But I think the way that it's coming out of the helmet kind of shows that it's me expressing anger, and how like that's just cleansing all of those bad feelings, and that's the only way I know how to kind of show it and express it, and that movement with the smoke kind of shows that as well. Okay, and finally, I kind of want to share my Skillshare, like obviously with the screen. So basically, I'm gonna go up here into window and click on my timeline, and I know that it's very simple to see that like the timeline was how I made my animations and stuff like that. But I did figure out that if you press on these motion creators, like right now I have, we'll select layer 3. So layer 3, I know that like I wanted it to move in a circle, and every time I would do it like manually, it didn't do what I wanted it to do. And so I googled how to just make one of my layers just rotate naturally, more fluidly, and there's a simple way to do it in the timeline. So basically you just click on this and you can click on any way you want it to, like what motion you want it to move in, and I wanted mine to rotate, and so if you rotate it clockwise, then it does it on its own, and the overall finished product was just this whole thing moving. And so if you can see like where the hole or my heart is supposed to be, it moves now. And so that's just kind of like a simple way to kind of figure out how to animate it without having to rotate it, and I just couldn't for the life of me figure it out, so I had to Google it. But yes, this is my project 2, and I'm very proud of it.